think that the person does, it will be paid a senior management salary within the City of Toronto. But I believe that the person will in turn show the kind of leadership that will save their salary many times over in the first year they're here. And I think it'll go on from there. So I think that it's one of those things where if you want to get a good person, you're going to have to pay for it in a marketplace that is competing for talent that knows how to do this kind of transformation. But the savings and the increased convenience to the citizens of Toronto will more than pay for the salary, whatever that salary ends up being. But I expect it'll be a senior management salary.
Just to go to the real estate part of it, this very building we're standing in has been talked about several times in the last decade about potentially being sold or repurposed. Is that part of the plan?
I don't rule it out. I think when we get the mechanism in place to actually have real estate handled on a central basis, we have to make a decision. We're obviously investing in this building right now. We've invested only 2 floors on the pilot project, and obviously we have a decision to make about what the future of this building is. If you said to me, is it absolutely necessary that the City of Toronto should own this building at this place at this time? The answer is no. But if you then do the business case that sort of says, well, if you sold it, are you going to stay in here and pay rent to somebody else, and how much would the rent be, and how would all that add up? If you said you were going to move all the employees somewhere else, where would they move to, and what would the rents be, and how much money would that result in saving? So that question is far from answered. I can only say to you that I have expressed a willingness, as you know, to look at all of these questions and provide business-like answers on them that are in the best interests of the people who pay the bills, who are the people of the City of Toronto. And so I would just say to you that all of these things are on the table, and the City Council itself asked for a report that would talk about our real estate holdings, among others, in terms of whether it made sense to keep owning them the way we do or do something different.
Mayor Tory, you made comments last night about posting the photos of TTC fare evaders in newspapers, and Brad Ross said on More in the Morning this morning that that may not legally be viable because the surveillance video is for criminal acts, and maybe not paying your fare isn't criminal, and there would be privacy issues. So how would it play out? How would you see this going?
I think you could see, if you watch the video or even listen to the audio, that I was musing about the things that I had mentioned in the past, because frankly I was very frustrated at the fact that some of our fellow citizens, who are people that are well able to pay, are people that just choose not to pay. And to me, I don't see that as being any different than somebody saying, well, you know, I'm going to go and take an apple from that store because I feel like having one and I'm not going to pay for it. I mean, that is a rip-off of the TTC. It is a rip-off of the fellow travelers on the TTC who do pay their fare. And so I was musing about a way in which sometimes you could cause people to understand this is wrong behavior, that it is going to be identified. I think the more likely course of action that's going to be taken is to have a better deployment of fare inspectors, of which we have some now. Perhaps we need more, and perhaps we need to deploy them differently. I've had some discussions with Mr. Byford about this, but I was more musing about that because I think if you had the first 2 or 3 people that had their picture appear in the paper saying they chose to avoid paying their fare on the TTC at the expense of everyone else traveling and at the expense of the public transit system, I think you'd find behavior would change. But I was musing last night. I had mentioned it in a meeting once before. It wasn't going very far at that time, but so I think that's the best answer I can offer this morning.
Do you think that the power of shaming someone is maybe more a deterrent than a fine?
I just know that I think most people would be very embarrassed at the notion that they would be even, kind of found out on a streetcar by a fare inspector not to have paid their fare. They'd be surrounded by all kinds of other people who had paid their fare. And people can dispute the fares if they want. And we're working right now on a fare equity strategy for lower income people. But people can dispute the fare if they want. But the fact of the matter is we live in a system where government and the TTC make these decisions, and then we all agree we're going to abide by the law. This is breaking the law, not to pay your fare. It's not correct. I mean, it's a rip-off of the system, and it's a rip-off of your fellow citizens. And so I am just making the case that I'm frustrated by it, that it is costing the TTC millions, and we've got to do better. And I do think if people were to be embarrassed, they would be embarrassed, and they would change their behavior, and other people would want to avoid embarrassment. But look, we will do things that are practical and sensible to try to make sure that we encourage people to pay their fares. But as in everything else, you have to count on people and their honor and their sense of integrity to follow the rules and to do what we would expect everybody to do, which is pay your fare when you ride the TTC.
Fare evasion is costing millions. Do you have any estimate?
Well, I mean, the TTC has figures on this, which I'm sure they might be happy to share with you. And, you know, it is costing millions. It doesn't take much for it to cost millions. It's a very low percentage of people that have been identified as not paying their fare, but, you know, even a low percentage of 550 million riders times, you know, a fare that's in the range of $3, I mean, depending on what you're using to pay for it, adds up to a lot of money. So, yes, it's a big amount of money. And it comes from the fact that we've tried to make the system work better, for example, by offering the honor system to get on streetcars on the back door. And we did that so the transit vehicles could move better, so traffic could move better, and, you know, sometimes even good deeds are punished. And so it's led to some problems that have been identified there. And I will tell you, the TTC staff are working on them because they understand that this is not fair to the other travelers and that it's not within the law and it's inappropriate behavior. So they're working on it, and that's when I was chatting with them about it, about different things that you could do. But I think the main thing is just going to be to rely on people to be honorable and pay their fare. Thank you very much.